I think this is going correctly. I think we're strumping. We all be strumped. The thing... Yes, we shall start making noises. Let's, Wall. Noises. Let's,
And from say ooga booga.
Oh, yeah.
That's Kareem Sales and say that I'm an ANCAT man in
Afghanistan.
Yeah.
ANCOM man.
Everybody is.
So, I'm glad I did the little sound check thing there, because I forgot that when I'm playing games on my Twitch channel, subscribe at Insanity is free. The general thing over there is, like, I have to have my game volume down, or I can't be audibled. So, go.
I was told your favorite game, the game that you think is the best game ever, is Mr. Dapperton's game, where he becomes Trump to fight for.
Yeah, well, see, and that one of the cool things about that is that how uncool it is, because not only did he change the name to Skull Crushers, but then he changed it to Skull Stompers. Because
it seems like he's just changing the whole game.
Yes.
It doesn't seem to have anything to do with its original plot.
I didn't play it. I don't know.
Well, if you want to see the game, the VOD is still available on my Twitch. You can just watch me go through the whole game and tear it the fuck down, because it's not a good game. And now he's made it even worse in a lot of ways that I'll be going over tomorrow. But the most recent things are those 2 name changes. He didn't even change it once. He changed it twice to Skull Crushers and then Skull Stompers. And now he's added unnecessary gore effects fucking uselessly that basically just corrupt your entire field of vision, and make it hard to like see the next enemy you're trying to hit. So it made it worse, but he thinks it's awesome, and it also looks like shit because it's just a fucking particle effect. I'll go over that on my stream tomorrow.
Clearly, you're just jealous.
Hashtag
Clearly.
Greg deserves better. Oh, and also now you can play as Trump, Elon Musk, Ben Shapiro, and Joe Biden. And you can play as these 4, and he also wants you to be able to play as Boogie2988, who's a massive grifting, scamming con man. And
I used to like him though.
Yeah, well, the point that I'm making is that, like, it's no longer... And one of the things that was funny is, before these people all inevitably say, stop using my fucking likeness in your game, which they probably will at some point, you know, the general gist of the situation will be, people will gradually start to say things like some people have been saying, like, who invited bro on the left? Because nobody, like, third party to this situation gives a fuck about Mr. Dapperton, and they're gonna wonder why he's in a game with all these people who are, like, 10,000 times better known than he is, because he's a massive grifting shitbag. But this stream is not about him, so I will, I'll give you 2 a brief moment to introduce yourself, and then we will get going for like an hour discussing the issues. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm Rose. I am anarchist without adjectives, patron saint of real libertarians, and as far as Big L stuff goes, I'm a member of the New York Libertarian Party on the state committee, the New York Platform Committee, National Platform Committee I served my first term on, and also, member of the Mises Caucus at the moment.
Yeah, but we'll briefly discuss some shit that came up with regards to that before we get too started. Kareem, go for it. Intro.
All right, I'm an Anson man, an Anston stan, and if Rose has a problem with that, well, I'll get the dock workers and we'll collectivize and, you know, we'll tear down New York.
I like that title for now.
I'm an Anson that one. And I got a new cat, the Cindy cat.
I could see you with a cat. Cats are great.
Yeah, but I'll put the I'll get it as my background. Anyway,
no, you got to get an actual cat.
Mm-hmm.
Is anybody in your house allergic?
I'm a bird, dude.
Get a cat anyway. It'd be funny.
Nah, my parrot will freak out, and that won't be good. Anyway,
but your parrot will start making screeching cat noises, and that will not be annoying at all. Go ahead.
You can find me on them Twitters at Cream6633, arguing with people about why libertarians should not vote for Trump. You can
I thought you were about to
also,
say My Little Pony, and I was going to be like, what?
yeah, my little.
My libertarian
You can
pony
find me at
constantly wants
Anarchy.
to lower the age of consent.
This is where he comes out as a brony.
Yeah, right?
It's
Brony
okay, Caryn, we
Kareem.
can support you.
Yeah.
We're open-minded here.
Hey man, that not allowed in my
As long
city.
as you don't have a jar with a Rainbow Dash figure in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Kareem's about to syndicate Equestria.
Yeah, I'll syndicate that too. I
Yeah.
don't know what that is, but we syndicate this podcast.
Yeah, you're gonna unionize. You're gonna onionize. So, all right. Before we get too into it, why don't you briefly talk about what associating with you got or me got you, Rose? You're free to have a brief parlay into that. Like the evil of showing up on this channel gets you what?
Well, yeah, I'm here to associate or be friendly with a hater.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just want to say I'm also very disappointed by the lack of severed doll heads mounted on your wall. I mean, we talked about this previously.
Yeah. Well, you know what I need to do is I need to get enough crafting supplies to make a Tails doll, and then just like mount that to the wall. That would be enough, and it would thematically fit in with my thing. Tails doll does the whole like Sonic EXE thing, but like it's a separate creepypasta where like I don't even know what the thing is. It's I guess just a weird doll that follows you around or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But yeah, like the thing is, like apparently the recent appearance in the meeting, where Caryn gets ousted, like got you associated with me, and also then panned as a hater.
Oh, right, yeah, because yeah, I think because we talked a few times in the chat, and then yeah, so you were commenting and you even mentioned like some of your most like frequent podcast guests
Mhm.
were Mises Clowns. And then like I don't know, we were both talking to some guy and I'm like, yeah, I'm one of the people he mentioned. I frequently go on his channel. Like you should totally show up sometime and talk about things. And yeah, I guess some guy was watching this exchange because then a couple of days later I tried to join a Q&A session with Angela because I wanted to see what she was saying about recent happenings. And yeah, like he like in the chat, he's like, she doesn't seem very Mises Caucus. Okay, well, no, it's because I was waiting for like half an hour, whereas other people, like normally I'm let in pretty fast to Mises Caucus Zoom meetings.
I like how you
And
just said
people-
caucus. That's fun.
That too, yes. But that's a different discussion entirely.
Yeah.
Um,
Go ahead.
yeah. So a couple people were let in before I was, and I'm like, can you ask what's up? And yeah, some guy like commented, he's like, she didn't seem very Mises Caucus friendly at the meeting on Sunday. She was being too friendly with a hater and mentioned that she appears on his channel frequently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bryce and Justin for backing me up on that.
Yeah. You know, because the thing is, people don't have to agree. I don't need lockstep. I'm a fucking cunt, yo. Like, I'm a
I
mentally...
argued with you about, yeah.
No, it's not
I
Mises
argued with
Caucus
you on
friendly.
the channel.
Yeah.
You know it's not Mises Caucus friendly? Simping for Putin, RFK, Malay, Trump.
Yeah.
Well,
I haven't
those
seen
things
anybody for
shouldn't
Victor
be.
Orban.
Yeah, those things shouldn't be.
Well,
no, actually,
Lori-
that was
Lori-
that.
Lori Price and Daniel McAdams are both up Putin's asshole. Like, they...
And
like,
Victor Orban for some reason.
yeah. Well, you know, it's the one thing that they like.
Nice.
It's the one thing they like that's Orban. I gotta say that they're racist at least once. So, but like the general,
Daniel's cool. Just why is he like Putin? For what reason? I don't know.
you know, but like that's the thing. Daniel McAdams can say the occasional reasonable thing while also not being cool at all. And he's not only sold out to like the Putin shit, but he's also like he was willing to defend Scott Ritter to the point of saying you won't get Ron Paul, as though Ron Paul is just like, it's like Britney Spears. It's like he's being custodially shuffled around by managers. It sucks.
I don't understand that. Yeah, but here's the problem. Then he walked that back. But anyway,
I don't think he did
Daniel.
though. But
I like the only problem I had with Daniel McAdams is I got one thing wrong, and then like about what Ron Paul voted for, and we agreed to disagree, and then like stuff. But then I said like, hey, I'm libertarian. I like everything Ron Paul did, but I moved to this instead of complete Rothbard. He's like, what? Like I think I said like communism's not all bad if you do ANCOMs. He's like, you believe in cartoon characters or something. I'm like, just it's a whole like, oh, this doesn't exist. I'm Marxist. So
well,
yeah,
if
I've had that experience too with a lot of the LP types.
well, if anybody says
don't know the roots, they don't know the roots of the term libertarian, and yeah.
If anybody says you need to avoid cartoon characters, you can just point them to the holy figure. So, the general gist, I think, though, first off, we can talk about the meeting, and people can hear quite a lot of what I have to say on a more routine basis. But I think this would be a good moment for Rose to talk about how that meeting filled her with extreme rage watching what happened to Caryn.
Streets of Rage.
Unfortunately not. That was cool and not, like, done in secret. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I would like to say, I want to like the Mises Caucus, okay? I've been a smaller libertarian for years and years. You don't need to get into my political history at this moment, but the Libertarian Party was something that I had been following for years, but, like, they always, like, they would be on the right track, but they just never really... They had the right idea, but they just never really took it all the way. Like their takes were always very disappointing, in my opinion. And yeah, like they would run candidates who like they would get up on stage, and frankly, they were just disappointing. They wouldn't actually communicate libertarian principles. So, long story short, I'd been hearing talk about the Mises Caucus, who was going to bring back, the energy that the original Ron Paul movement had brought about. And I'm like, that would be awesome. Like, imagine if actual libertarians could retake the Libertarian Party and restore it to what it should be. It should be a front for educating people on economics and on libertarian philosophy. So then 2020 happened and all the COVID bullshit happened. And I'm like, okay, I feel they need to be doing something. So what better time than now I'm going to get involved in the Libertarian Party? Because there was a newly formed New York Mises Caucus chapter.
What better place than here? What better time than now? Sorry, I had to go.
Oh, God. Yeah, I said that, and then I immediately like, oh, shit, why did I say that?
I love that fucking song, though.
You
Go
should
ahead.
play the
But I was already saying the word, couldn't stop myself. So, anyway.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, Mises Caucus has a really great platform, like Austrian economics, education, the whole decentralized revolution idea, where like encouraging people to run for office at the local level. Like they had like a whole campaign where they would provide you with funding and help if you want to run for local office. I do know at least one person who did that with the support of the Mises Caucus. So it was all a very good idea, but over time, following the 2022 Reno convention, when we were all very excited, we were like, finally, the Libertarian Party has gotten rid of the old corrupt leadership and their shitty messaging, and they can finally take the party in the right direction. Well, over time, we started seeing more and more watering down of the message, and I also started seeing more and more people who had been instrumental in originally building the caucus being slowly pushed out, like people who had been highly principled in their messaging. Then they'd have some minor disagreement or they'd have some minor criticism, and suddenly they were the enemy. Oftentimes they'd still have like their image on the Mises Caucus website, or they'd still have like, they'd have graphics with like their picture and something they'd said with the Mises Caucus logo on it, which as far as I know are still up.
They all are.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
They
So that kind of started making me question. I'm like, are they drifting away from their original stated goals, or am I just overreacting? Like, obviously, okay, there's always going to be some compromise if we want to, bring in people who may not be fully on board. I guess we have to pander to them somewhat. And okay, maybe I'm just being stupid. Maybe I don't want to get into a purity spiral. Then the months leading up to convention happened. I think we were, maybe 3 weeks out from convention when the announcement was made that Trump was going to be showing up. My original response was, what the fuck? Why would we be bringing Trump to our convention? We're there to elect our presidential nominee and to vote on platform and bylaws changes and get Libertarian Party business done. Well, okay, I was angry about this for, pretty much the entire time leading up to convention. But, okay, I'm like, I guess maybe they know what they're doing. Maybe this really will get us the attention we need, even though I kind of figured it was going to get us the wrong type of attention. I showed up and I tried to keep an open mind. I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit through this Trump rally anyway, even though I have some serious security concerns, which thankfully that did not happen there. I'm like, okay, maybe we actually can get some concessions out of Trump. Like, if he's allowed to pander to us, maybe he'll agree to free Ross, like they're saying. Maybe, once he recognizes that we're a significant voting bloc, he'll actually try to make some promises that he probably won't keep. But hey, I'm prepared to eat my words if I turn out to be wrong. And Angela actually does manage to pull something off. So, but from there, it's just been one thing after another. Then the whole thing with the LP of Colorado happened, where they tried to blatantly undermine the will of the delegates who elected Chase Oliver, who was not my first choice, by the way. I did not vote for him for the first 6 rounds. By the 7th round, I'm like, you know what? Okay, I guess he wasn't my first choice, but clearly this is what people want. I'm not going to be a toddler and vote NODA. So I voted for him in the last round. A lot of people were freaking out, though, and acting like it was the end of the world. I'm like, I think we should at least give this guy a chance. I don't think he's that bad. But no, the tantrums continued for weeks following the convention. And then the Colorado thing happened with them trying to keep the duly elected nominee off the ballot and run RFK instead.
Right.
They had this whole idea that they were going to break the single party hold in their state, which, well, okay, I mean, I live in a single party state where voting is beyond rigged too, so I get it, but I don't really think the Libertarian Party is what you should. I understand wanting to do that, but at the same time, I don't think you should completely throw your party under the bus for that. You're still kind of bound by the bylaws that you agreed to abide by when you decided to join. So if you want to do something like the RFK strategy, start your own party or just do it as an independent. And yeah, I was very put off by the fact that the National Party did not take a stand against that. Yeah. And not only that, but their lack of action said a lot, because it seemed like they were honestly kind of on board with it.
Right.
Again, I kept an open mind. I sat through a meeting held by the LPCO, Mises leadership, and I was highly unimpressed with all the arguments put forth, but in any event, I think that kind of brings us up to now, because then the whole thing happened with Caryn Ann Harlos submitting paperwork to the Secretary of State to get Chase Oliver on the ballot, which is what she's supposed to do, because she was also the secretary of their state party.
Right.
And it was her job to submit the paperwork to get the duly elected Libertarian candidate on the ballot under the Libertarian line.
But she's exposing them to lawsuits. Go ahead.
Anyway, that pretty much brings us up to now.
Yeah. Well, so
now she's suddenly, now all of a sudden, all these traits that the Mises leadership had no problem with are suddenly a problem. Now
Right.
They don't like the fact that she's outspoken and can be abrasive and causing drama.
Go, Kareem.
Well, 2 things. I was going to say, Fo Chan, my friend, is still on the Mises website. She said, take me off because
she got kicked out of the caucus along with her husband.
Yeah, she got kicked out of the caucus. I don't even know for what. I'm not gonna go in, but then they still have a picture up there. So what are you doing? Like if you kick me out of a political organization, you still use my image. That doesn't make sense. Somehow I'm still on there and I'm doing this. So,
Yeah.
but maybe, but you got to optimize social cooperation under the division of labor with higher organizational constituents, which does come with a union, which is better than free market capitalism alone because people just do whatever they want. That being said, my issue is that the Mises Caucus should be for people who are outspoken, people who have an opinion. Even Ron Paul said, you have the right to say things that are very controversial. So the more, as long as you're not calling for like direct confrontation, the more outspoken, crazy, just wild, I want people who are, super, super spicy. But the minute someone gets like that, they say, oh no, sit down. And even my issue was they were trying to push libertarians out for quote unquote liberty Republicans, like Blake Masters. And I'm like, what are you doing? This isn't the Ron Paul revolution. If we're going to tone it down, we might as well be the old guard. That was my problem, because I tried to work on a campaign with the old guard and I said, let's stick it to the two-party system. And they're like, whoa, we don't like that rhetoric. They didn't say that. They said, that's good rhetoric, Caryn. Really good on point. But we need to tone it down, just like, well, for what? To do what? So that's my problem. Half of these people who want to fight the system, once they get in a position of power, are like, well, we really do want to rebel. Let's keep it PG-13 for everybody. Because we don't want to. That's.
Sorry, you started to cut out.
Now he's muted.
Oh, that's the issue. Once people get a little bit controversial or say something that's crazy, and I'm not talking about LPNH, I'm actually talking about like real, let's, go after the system. Nobody actually wants to be controversial. It seems to me like it's like SLC punk. Once the punk rockers get into the lawyer position,
they
just kind of want
their mohawk and put on a business suit.
And that's where Mises is at. There are the people putting on a mohawk saying, let's bring back the old punk days. Let's smash the system. Let's do this. And then
like, well, you kind of got to work within the system. And here's the thing, like, I get it. Like, okay, now suddenly they're in charge of this political organization. They have to bring in revenue to keep the political organization afloat. So, like, I'm trying to be, I do try to be as charitable as I can, and like, trying to look at things from their perspective. Like, maybe, I'm sure there are perfectly rational reasons for why they're doing what they're doing. I'm not going to be one of those people who just jumps to conclusions like, oh, they were Republican plans from the start, and they were paid with dark money to take over the party and destroy. Like, I don't think that's true. I don't think they were plans meant to destroy the party from the beginning. I think they did start out with, in general, good intentions, but they've been slowly pushed to, these more pragmatic strategies. And I think there are certain people who, are kind of using it to try to build themselves up or accomplish things that are not really in line with the original stated goals of the caucus.
Well, and so the general thing is, I was watching this sort of rightward push for a while, and a lot of these people don't like me because I was willing to call out that sort of shit, and they didn't like the fact that I was willing to, for instance, the Mises Caucus official pages blocked and banned me everywhere because I fucking, called out Javier Milei.
It was just out of nowhere, too, because you were, you were in the group for a long time, and
I mean, I knew it would happen, though, because they were already declining my posts, and when you mass censor somebody's opinion on, but
they'd always done that. Like, they were always very selective about what they allowed, because, they had post-approval on, and, they would just mostly to weed out, low-effort filler memes and stuff, and, I get that, because, even with the group I run, post-approval is super useful to prevent spam and repetitive posts.
They allowed everything but my Malay posts, is the thing.
Yeah.
Literally all the other posts that, like, even if it was about something like trans shit, they would allow it in, and it was like, I was allowed to talk about that. I was allowed to promote trans issues. But even then, like, that the Javier Malay thing might have just, like, when I finally snuck that video, I don't care, the video through, and, like, bragged about it, that was the final straw. But it wouldn't surprise me if they also didn't like the posts that they were approving. They were like, well, finally, this is the last straw. He snuck something by our defenses. He went against our wishes. He's subversive, communist, race, blah, 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 blah. Let's also, use this as an opportunity to get rid of the guy who was promoting leftist ideals and also, not going in lockstep with our anti-trans, anti-woke bullshit.
But I said similar things in there. Like, I promoted, semi-left ideas, like the idea that, it's not on student loan forgiveness,
right.
I would give takes that seemed, that people would label left, such as, well, this debt is illegitimate and we shouldn't. I mean, that's totally in line with the Austrian economic position, but a lot of people don't understand their own economic positions and will label me a commie for that take. Anyway, I'm just saying, it just seems very, they allowed for a while a certain amount of ideological diversity.
Right. But,
so,
the
Malay thing, either it was one admin who just really liked him and was pissed at you, or there was a deliberate decision to not allow dissent against Malay.
It was more than one admin, otherwise it wouldn't have also happened on Twitter.
Right. Yeah, no, it probably was. But at the time, though, I'm like, I wonder if it's just one admin who just really likes Malay, or if this was a deliberate decision that they made, that they're like, we're not going to allow any criticism of Malay in here.
Well, that was it. Like, you cannot be in the official Libertarian Party Mises Caucus group if you say, negative things about Malay. They will keep you banned.
I'm gonna try it. I have nothing to lose at this point, so I should try it.
Yeah, and if they decline your posts, find a way to sneak one in, and they'll ban you. Because they'll just decline your posts. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter that he's a rabid Zionist war hawk. It doesn't matter that he's pushing a surveillance state. It doesn't matter that he's a police brutality cunt. It doesn't matter. What matters is that he doesn't like the left and that they don't like the left either, and the left is what they're against. So, the general... So, this brings us to the actual Caryn situation, and I think that was actually relatively well summarized in this Reason magazine article. I think you're the one who sent it to me, but
I posted that on your Discord.
Yeah. So, Libertarian Party Secretary files lawsuit to remove party chair Angela McArdle. So, if anybody wants a recap that's longer than this stream, feel free to go there and read that, because it's okay. It seems fairly fact-driven. It seems relatively undriven by bias. So,
it pains me to be linking to Reason articles.
Well, see, I think so. For instance, Liz Wolfe, I think she does good work, and then
maybe, I don't know.
And then some of the stuff that they're willing to do for they're the Reason Foundation is the money behind the Soho Forum, so that's good stuff too.
Yeah, okay, that much is true.
Yeah, so they're not completely bad, but they do have a lot of things that I'm
well,
my anarchist brain is just
Octopus tentacles run deep in Reason magazine.
Yeah,
along with the Cato Institute and FEE and other mainstream libertarian organizations, and the Libertarian Party. Yes. Yeah.
So all of that stuff, but my participation in the meeting told me everything I really need to know. So, I'll give briefly a sort of run through here, and then you can give your take as somebody who was also at the meeting and saw the bullshit and shit fuckery that went down, and was also active in the chat where further bullshit and shit fuckery were being fucked. Kareem, I don't know where he went, but he's also willing to talk, or welcome to. He's willing, I know. So the general...
Yeah, he was a state organizer before I was, so yeah. He has experience organizing for the Mises Caucus.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I'll say is that it was completely unnecessary to have it be 5 hours. But the reason that the meeting in total took 5 hours is because they unethically broke it out into executive session so that they could talk a bunch of shit behind her back about these charges and justify stripping her of her powers until the trial allegedly would take place, as though the trial didn't happen behind closed doors and they hadn't already made up their fucking minds. Because like, oh, we're going to deliberate on what the charges should be, and we're going to put it in this...
They did that early on in the... They did that early in the morning, or not early, but like around noon or so. Like they
Right.
voted on what the charges were going to be in the first place.
Right, and
it
then...
was like a 10-minute meeting.
And then they broke. Then they came to the other meeting, and they were like, "Well, we're discussing improving the charges. We have to be in executive session, so we'll put it off until later to actually have the vote, and we'll just have a vote."
I don't know how many LNC meetings you sat through, but that's very common actually for them to find an excuse to go into executive session so that they don't have to have it live streamed, or they don't have to let the public be sitting in.
Yeah, it's fucking corrupt as hell, and like this particular thing, what happened was, we had a nice amount of time to chat between us. A room full of people who were all affiliated with the LP. Stefan Kinsella was there. A bunch of like other LP people were there, and it was basically like one giant public comment. And so
It was nice. Yeah, we had a chance to talk, and for the most part, most people were capable of acting like adults and raising their hands and commenting one after another and being respectful, with a few exceptions.
And those exceptions were Austin and his fuck buddy.
And normally, I don't normally have anything against the guy. Like, just putting that out there, I don't have anything against the people who were booted, but like, there was a legitimate reason why one particular person was booted, and I only bring that up because this was later used to try to claim that Caryn Ann Harlow was being some kind of tyrant and booting people who went against her, when that was not what happened. Like, she gave everyone the opportunity to talk. This one guy would not stop interrupting and shouting over other people, and people asked him multiple times if he could please wait his turn. Eventually, she just booted him and then let him back in like 5 minutes later. It was not a big deal. But this was then cited later as, oh, she was an authoritarian and she was just booting people who went against her, who tried to criticize her. No, that was complete bullshit. She did let plenty of people criticize her.
Yeah, and like, here's the thing: as somebody who I'm a content creator, I've got my content tentacles on all these. I've been in the space of knowing like how to talk to a group of people for a significant period of time and how to get my fucking word in edgewise, proverbially speaking. And what you do if there's a queue order is you wait your fucking turn, and then you write down notes, and you say like, this person said this, I'm going to respond to this in this way, and then you just have your list, and when it's your turn, you go down your list. If Austin had done that, he wouldn't have wasted so much of our time repeating himself so fucking much, because he wouldn't constantly feel the need to, reassert some shit that we'd already gone over. And then B, he wouldn't have been a cunt as much, and he would have probably not had nearly as much friction with people. Hell, maybe even convinced some people. But a lot of libertarians have communication issues and don't like to wait their turn and don't like to follow any order, much less spontaneous order. They're not very Misesian. Chris Bennett, real quick, says in chat, I don't know why you care so much about the LP. I kind of don't. But like, what I do care about is getting people on board the path that I've been on. And the path that I've been on has been gradually like I got involved with the LP, I got involved with the Ron Paul campaign, I got involved with all these political facing like libertarian efforts and blah 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 blah. I could jack off into a cup. But like, the general thing is that like
bring viewers to the stream, but perhaps not the right ones.
Yeah, those viewers want CNN, Jeffrey Toobin. So the general vibe is that like, I want people to have a similar exposure to the level of corruption that brought me away from the Libertarian Party and toward anarchist principles. And then the second half of it is, if that doesn't happen, the worst thing that happens is that those people are informed of the corruption, and maybe there's like some things that are done about it, you know. So, like, if I get my way, we get more anarchists. If they get their way, we lose. So, if I get my way, the middle ground between my way and them losing is them actually having to gain some principle. They're not willing to do that. So they're probably going to lose, and I'll be able to scrape all the disenfranchised motherfucks from every other fucking sphere to the fuck place I am fucking at. So that's the real shit, Chris. I'm not here to, like, wax the LP. I'm an asshole with the worst presentation. I just said like 18 cuss words. You can't put this on like their public feeds anymore. So like I'm not trying to fucking politic here. I'm trying to anti-politic and bring people over. Bread in chat. And there's still good folk to be found in any corner. Wouldn't want to miss anyone. Also, hi, hello. Yeah, we'll be doing a Praxis stream on Sunday. So feel free. But like, yeah, the general. I think that there are good people. I think Rose is one of them. I think Kareem is one of them. I think there are good people in these spaces that need better spaces to be good, that aren't so fucking corrupt and evil. So, but the general vibe is that after this executive session, which, by the way, these people suck Angela's cunt, and they really like people like Austin. They really like to just defend everything she does and ignore all the bad stuff that they can't defend. And one of the things that they did was they tried to claim that Caryn was some sort of tyrant for what Caryn was doing to, like, remove somebody who was routinely interrupting people and cunting up the joint. But then Caryn comes...
she was not alone. She was not the only one to boot anyone that day, but you're getting to that?
Yeah, well, you can say that.
Go ahead.
I mean, because you were there too, and you can verify this at the very least. But like,
yeah, a guy who I'm not even a fan of. He said one thing, did not interrupt anybody, and got insta-booted. Okay, so early on in the stream, there were some actual hecklers, so Angela booted them. I don't think like anyone really took issue with that because like that at least was understandable. But yeah. At one point, like her computer, or she lost connection to the meeting, so she had to rejoin and then like rejoin the main room to get access back to the executive session subroom. And yeah, like she made some comments about a discussion being inappropriate, and yeah, basically we had to wait for her to leave in order to continue the discussion that we were having because people were legitimately afraid that if they said anything that they were going to be booted. Yep. And at least one person was actually booted.
Yeah, let me pull up the exact quote. Kareem, your mic is on, but your camera is off. Are you jacking off?
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to see my wiener?
Yeah. Is it Anthony?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm assuming you got something you want to say about the recent things that were said?
All right. So there's a lot to unpack there. One, Caryn is actually... out of all things, Caryn is streaming right now on X, so you can go check that out. Second of all, I don't have tons of stuff to say. I think what's going to happen is after the election, hopefully they'll come back to their senses and say, hey, we screwed a lot of good libertarians over. We kicked out a lot of good people. We banned people for no good reason. This was absolutely counterproductive. Or they'll keep doing what they're doing and nothing will get better. Yeah. And if that's the case, then whatever. Like, it'd be like that. I don't put 100%. Here's the worst thing I think you can do, though, and everybody's doing this right now. Everybody's putting all their eggs in one basket. You wouldn't do that with investing or health or anything. I'm actually not carnivore, even though I make jokes of that. Like, I do eat vegetables, I think. So I don't put my eggs all in one basket. in anything, and you shouldn't do that politically. Like these people that think, oh, well, if we get a Democrat, oh, if we get a Republican, oh, well, this is the only vehicle. There's multiple vehicles. Use them for what you need, and you can still work with the LP and get funding and win a local position, which to me is actually what matters. It doesn't need, that's the thing. If you can get the LPMC to work locally for you, that's the best thing to do. People keep forgetting that.
Yes.
At the national level, it doesn't matter that much. That's not what it's there to do. At least when I talked to Heist, it was all about let's win at the local level. Let's get some local, because you can play federal politics all day. I don't think it's going to result in much. At least I haven't seen it ever do that. Now, if somebody has a legitimate, issue with me, I'm still there. Rose is still there. I think we need also dissenting voices. Like you said, you like me and Rose there. We need people who are not a hive mind. And I think that's the issue that they're running into is like, okay, you disagree with us? Well, leave. Well, that's not libertarian at all.
We get lumped in with the loser brigade. Like we just get automatically labeled haters and booted out, and then they wonder why they keep losing. Then they're completely upset. They can't understand why they lost at the 2024 convention, and I could go on about the post-mortem and how it took me on my self-control not to speak up and be like, you guys are so completely out of touch.
Right.
You genuinely did not understand why you lost why you lost the whole thing with not wanting to seat the Michigan delegates and why your candidate lost.
Yeah, and also this was the exchange. So I have a method of attaining the verbatim transcript of the unofficial section of the meeting, and I'm not going to say what that is, but what I will say is that part of the verbatim transcript is Daniel Lutz saying, and I quote, "The chair should stay, learn some libertarian principles." Angela McArdle saying, "You need to behave yourself, or you're going to get tossed. That's just totally inappropriate."
They tossed him.
And then John Hudak says, "So is holding a Trump rally," and she tossed him.
Yeah, he got insta-booted.
Yeah, that's the issue I have. If we're libertarian, the most important thing to me is freedom of speech. And then, or you could argue owning guns helps back that up, fine. But freedom of speech, and why, I don't mind, people having dissenting opinions. That, as long as they're not dissenting opinions that say, hey, we're violate the NAP or hurt somebody else or, something that's extremely negative, I think there should be tons of dissenting opinions. That is libertarian in and of itself. To get mad that somebody doesn't agree with leadership is fine. I don't agree with leadership. A lot of times I don't agree with a lot of the different things. That's fine. And the good thing is, and you need outliers. Now I'll give them credit. They haven't kicked me out. They haven't told me they haven't had any problems. And I know Luke Enzor literally commented on 2 things that I posted about the CNT FAI. So he knows I'm looking at that stuff. But me and Luke are cool. So they know I have dissenting opinions. Now, they have different opinions on what I posted than I do, but that's where it be. Hi, Luke.
Well, that's my thing. So this Caryn situation, it's just emblematic, I think, of the and this is the thing. We're back on positive terms because she now knows that I wasn't being threatening or insulting when I said this. But she blocked me a short bit back on Twitter for saying, we got Joseph. We only got 15 more minutes, so you'll have to speak your piece within that amount of time. But I'll give you some time to. We're mostly talking the Caryn situation, but just to finish, when she blocked me, it was because she was already engaged with a whole bunch of bad faith actors. and those people had not given her a good impression, and I think she thought I was one of them before she knew I was on her side. But the general gist of my comments regarding that situation was that there's a long train of corruption, and at this point, she is now saying, like, you know, I'm upset that I didn't see this sooner, and this is what I've been talking about, is that, like, people get, like, sunk cost, people get too deep in it, and they don't, like, see what's going on, or they don't want to believe it's that bad because these are their people, right? And so it's one of those things, and we're back on good terms, and she's sharing this article from Reason, when this was the institution that Angela McArdle said you weren't allowed to talk to anyone from. Those were her instructions. And so those things...
Unless they paid us. She said, don't talk to Reason unless they pay you.
Yeah.
Those were her orders.
Yeah, so that's my thing. Like, I think when you start having that mentality, don't talk to haters, isolate anybody who's been on Jeremiah's fucking YouTube channel, those people are haters, they're bad.
Which is hilarious, because you've been helping with the fucking LPWI situation, because you actually heard what was going on, because one of the Mises Caucus people was willing to talk to you.
Yeah.
Amazing how that works.
And so, like, I'm willing to talk to all, but, like, that's the thing, like, when you start doing that, when you start saying, don't talk to certain press, I gotta say it, it's Hitlerian. It's the Lugenpresse. It's the idea that there's a certain section of press you can't talk to. And once you talk to that certain section of press, or once you talk to those people, or once you talk to the outgroup significantly enough, we will call you the outgroup. It's cult-like at the very most charitable interpretation of the actions, and it's Hitlerian if you're an anti-fascist conspiracy theorist, bipolar cunt like me with unmedicated mental illness. So, you know, generally speaking, like, and then I'll throw it to Joe, because, like, he hasn't been able to say anything, he hasn't been on. We'll be doing a more praxis related stream on Sunday, but we're primarily talking about the Caryn situation. But that's my general gist, is I've been watching this for a long time. It's been a fucking collapse in slow motion, and anti-libertarian as fuck for a significant period of time. And that period of time is basically like, there's not even a little blip on the radar where it was okay. It's just been that they used that little period of maybe being a little bit better to rally the troops, and now they're just going harder in the paint than they ever were before, as far as I'm concerned. So, Joe, you got like 6 minutes, we'll say, and then we'll throw it to Rose and then Kareem for closing statements. We'll call it. This is a short stream, basically, just to talk about this. So feel free, go for it.
One of the things you're talking about is the sunk cost. You know, 2 years ago when I went to the Daily Beast for pretty much the same reason, because the LNC actually facilitated a lot of the corruption that's currently happening in the state of Idaho. We're continuing to see totalitarianism come through the policies that are being talked by who's currently the secretary, and basically individuals who were Caryn Ann's pets, 2 years ago. And that was one of the reasons why she blocked me, disavowed me, said I was bad for, the situation, yet we turn around and now we're stuck in a situation where it's totalitarianism. And in a lot of ways, it's blatant eugenics, progressive era Nazistic, situations where it's like, well, these individuals need to be controlled. These individuals aren't human. These individuals don't belong to part of the group. These individuals, have done this that was terrible, regardless of what it is we did to them first. And it continues to escalate. This is like, we cheated, but now they're using the cheat we used, and that's not fair.
Yeah.
And
well,
you busted the code. What do you expect? There is no respect anymore because you can't be trusted to follow the code. You broke house rules. You broke the real rules. None of these rules apply anymore because you won't stand by them. What do you expect when it comes to the counter violence to your initial aggression? Where do you expect it to stop? And Caryn Ann's participation in that 2 years ago, participation following the Reno reset, the breaking of the rules, the way they decided to do things different rather than honor the house rules that had been established, for 20, 40, 50 years. Now we're stuck in this situation where literally everybody's going, you know what? Screw you. I got better reach than you do. I got better reach than the party does. I got better reach than the individuals who make up what's left of the infrastructure. Why should I spend my time, my sunk cost? I have no interest in what I spent. I'm looking forward. What's it going to cost me to redeem the situation?
Well,
is it worth saving?
Well, see,
is it worth my cost in saving it?
My general thing with the Caryn situation is, I think that she actually did have some reasonable intentions. And ultimately speaking, when it comes down to it, I don't give a fuck if the Libertarian Party sinks, because I think that maybe it should, especially if it wants to oust her for doing insane things like following the rules and submitting their nominee instead of RFK and etc., and actually accurately calling them out on breaking bylaws and lying about conflicts of interest and misusing the official email and logo and all that stuff to support Trump events and a variety of other shit like that is all on its own, even barring all of the other corruption that went on before. All on its own, those things are reasons Angela needs to get her cunt off that throne. But the general thing is that, even if this doesn't work, even if Caryn's lawsuit, which she's doing now, fails, which I hope it doesn't, because I hope these people are sued into the dirt, we still win in general principle, because we get, a lot more grounds to say that, this is a corrupt institution, there is no political solution. That was unnecessarily punk lyrics. I did not actually mean for that to rhyme. But the general thing is that, I'm supporting Caryn because I oppose corruption. I'm supporting Caryn because she's opposing corruption at this point, and because I think she was trying to do that this whole time and feels betrayed. I think that betrayal is what we should be willing to work with, because that's how I was broken over to just full-on agorist / anarchist unity / whatever principles, to the point where I don't support any political solution. I was brought there because I was disenfranchised and dis-the-fuck-gruntled, and because I knew enough other people who also were, and I was willing to work with those people to bring people over. I'm as long as Caryn's on the anti-corruption side, I don't give a fuck what happened in the past. I'm here to push toward a better future and to build coalitions with people who are willing to do that. And so I'm glad we're both on the same page. We're mutuals on Twitter now, and supporting each other in this effort, and that's what I'm here for. I'm here to build coalitions, move forward, and fuck this machine up. Personally, I'm also an incredibly mentally ill person with, as I always say, I'm a ball of hate with a freight train of grudges, and I've got so many fucking just, I'm constantly angry. I've got a constant mild adrenal surge going through my body telling me to fuck somebody up. So I need something like this. I need a target to hit anyway.
Yeah,
so...
you were talking about the sunk cost fallacy and the fact that people will reflexively defend the group that they're part of. And yeah, I mean, you want to scroll through our messenger chat history far enough. We have gone at it how many times because of this exact reason? Yeah, you're not kidding. People will freak out and attack you when you criticize a group that they have put significant time and effort into, and where they have people who they care about who are also part of that group.
Yeah. So, like, and you're free. So, we're sort of drawing it to a close. I'll do Rose, Kareem, and then Joe for like closing thoughts for today, and then we'll do some. Potentially, we might do just a part 2 to this tomorrow, because this was short. And if there are people who see this and want to be involved in that part 2, they're free to do so. That might work.
Yeah, we're friendly. We promise.
Yeah. Yeah. See, the thing is, like, motherfuckers. So, Joe, you missed this part in the beginning, but like, basically, Rose was almost barred entry to a meeting involving Angela because she's been on my channel. So,
some person, like in the chat warned that I was apparently a hater because I was being friendly with a hater. And then another person claimed that he had severed doll heads on his wall.
Yeah, that's apparently they're spreading that. It's like blood libel, only dolls. Apparently, I have like severed doll heads on my wall. I've never said that in my fucking life. And I've never like posted a picture of it.
I mean, let's just spread the rumor that, those aren't actually dolls.
Yeah, they're the shrunken.
Yeah. Don't get on his bad side.
They're the shrunken heads of enemies and apostates. So the general. So we'll be sort of bringing this to a close. I think we'll do one tomorrow. I think that we didn't do this topic quite the justice it deserves today, and there's plenty to discuss, especially with regard to like the theory that's been sacrificed by the present vision of Mises cock-ass. So we will do Rose, Kareem, Joe. Closing statements, like 5 minutes.
Right. Okay, what was I saying previously? Okay, I'll say this. Like, it's extremely rare for me to actually dislike anyone. Like, I don't dislike most of the people in the Mises Caucus. I still support what they're supposed to stand for. I still love their platform. And, like, I have always supported much of what Angela, like most of the platform she ran on, most of what she's trying to do. I still greatly support her anti-war coalition building. I know we've argued about this in the past, but there are certain things that I just can't get behind. Like, I'm not opposed to trying to negotiate with the two major parties and trying to get concessions from them, but not at the expense of completely selling out the party. Like, I can't get behind the joint fundraising agreement that's going to funnel 90% of the money it brings into RFK, and now that he's out of the picture, by extension, to Trump. Like, I can't get behind people deciding not to run the duly elected libertarian candidate on their ballot line. Because, like, at that point, like, what's even the point in having a national convention or a national party?
It's a nice exercise before you become a PAC.
Pretty much, yeah.
Go ahead, though. You get plenty of time. Unless that was it.
That was pretty much it. Like, yeah. I don't hate anyone. Okay, I'm not on this show to be a hater. But, like, there are some genuine problems with the current LP leadership, and I want to see the party be a vehicle for spreading the libertarian message and getting people on board with our movement.
Right.
And still of the opinion that, like, the role of the national party should be primarily to get people on board with our movement, so then they'll join local libertarian parties, and that's where we can actually accomplish things. Like with my local party, like we're doing things like actual, like, teaching each other how to buy food locally, preferably under the table, like in cryptocurrency, or with like trading for, I'll fix your sink for you if you give me half a cow or something, or
mutual aid.
Yeah. Oh,
hey,
yeah.
Rose.
Grow the county party big enough again, because we've undergone a complete restructuring of our county party because the original chair stepped down abruptly a few months ago. We were thinking, if we can get enough people to join, what if we actually could have like a mutual aid fund? Like, I think that would be a really good use of local or county level libertarian parties. Like last time we were talking about off-grid communication and going over like how to set up a mesh network or other systems that like I think at one point we were talking about proxy servers or VPNs or how to use the Tor network.
Well,
So
mesh
that's
networks
what
are
accomplished with our local parties.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, things that actually help real people, that like people will actually have a motivation to join. Because so often, like with the county parties, like we would show up, like shoot the breeze for a little while, then we'd spend most of the time talking about when to schedule the next party or when to schedule the next party meeting for. It's like, what are we accomplishing? Like, yeah, are we actually even doing anything? Like, so yeah, there are things you can do that actually help people.
Yeah. And also on Sunday, we'll be going over praxis related stuff, like very specific. And we can go over a lot of that stuff as well then. And I know Kareem probably in his closing statement is going to bring up his recent interview with that guy who I already forget the name of, but he was the Moneyless Society guy. And he went over the idea of just like trading based on like an action credit system, like, you know, oh, I know this guy did stuff for me already, so I just do stuff when he needs it. Go.
I guess I can go now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, go.
First of all, so this is one of my best interviews actually. So that kind of, hey Joe. By the way, love the mutual aid network in Appalachia. Used to be against what you were saying about Mises. Now I'm like, yeah, socialism without government. Rudolf Rocker. Socialism will be free or it won't be at all. So yeah, I slid from a little bit to the right on libertarian to the left. So anyway, what were we? So I recently, my closing statements, going to make a mutual aid request, and we'll be putting this on Mad Liberty and EXE for Zachary Marlowe. He is doing a new film. He's from Moneyless Society. They're inspired by Noam Chomsky himself. And like Noam, obviously we know, getting up there in age, but he said, hey, let's pass the torch to the next generation. So if the Mises Caucus isn't working out, we can try other stuff. There's people building things like Joe, like Zachary, that you can work with. And I'm also going to put a mutual aid request to help him fund his film, because I think that's going to be great. What we were talking about were different alternatives to state capitalism, corporatism, and even free markets. And he did highlight an issue. The issue that gets often discussed is, okay, let's remove the corporatism issue for a second. Let's say it is a completely free market. There's no government, or there's very minimal, like, city count, you know, to be honest, probably city council just get together, meet, and talk. He said the problem with markets is sometimes when you get people just competing, like, you know, the two shawarma guys, sometimes it works with NVIDIA and bigger things. They'll innovate. Sometimes you get people just undercutting. They're like, how can I sell more shawarma? Like, oh, let me put in like some filler or something to sell it. Let me put in this. Let me put in that. So free market competition doesn't always result in better products. Now, I know what's going to happen. Everybody, Davenport, other people, ANCAPs are going to lose their minds now. Be like, let me cite a bunch of theoretical articles. Look, I've seen this problem. No, they won't.
They'll just cite AI because they can't actually think for themselves.
Let me ask an AI to give you a list of articles that may or may not exist. He's still not going to live down the fake Rothbard quotes that he tried to insist were real.
And he's also not going to live down the fact that he's a piece of shit, dumb fuck cunt who doesn't actually do his own research.
Anyway.
Imagine having to rely on AI because you can't be bothered to fucking read the book.
Yeah, and imagine being so unlikable that you can't even you don't have a network of people who actually read what you say. You can't say, "Hey chat, is this real?" You have to be like, "Hey chat GPT, is this real?" Fucking
GPT. But look, whatever. But the issue is, like, if free markets always worked, I would have, and you would have, a Sega Genesis that is updated for 2024. We don't. Sega literally is one of the biggest free market failures in the world. It could have dominated the gaming industry because it got help from you can fact check me offline if you want. They had the ability to acquire Nintendo, Sega, and Microsoft. There's other big things, the East Indian Company, so markets aren't perfect. What he suggested is the CNTFAI had the prototype of this, where if you worked on the field all day, you would get a labor voucher. And that labor voucher would be good for the X amount of stuff, or it'd be good to get your basic needs. What he's suggesting is now that we have blockchains, I don't know what modern socialists or libertarian socialists would say this, but since we have blockchains, we can create a smart contract voucher system that says if I do this for you, then it's on the blockchain, and we have actual smart contracts to work with. So that's Zachary Marlowe's idea. He's active in California. He's also active in, the circles in North Carolina. He was sharing that. And I said, I really like your mutual aid network. And he's like, yeah, that's humanity. That's actual humanity. I'm like, yeah. Once you strip away the Austrian economic theory, there are some things Austrians, while they're good, have missed. Maybe they missed some of the basic tenets of humanity. Hey, we shouldn't privatize the commons. Hey, indigenous peoples have some knowledge. Hey, maybe, just maybe, that even though, yes, there are bad people who say crazy things all the time, that that really you're targeting small minorities of people isn't gonna help. Also, they sometimes turn a blind eye to people's actual suffering, saying like, oh, well, wage slavery doesn't exist. Well, you don't need, the landlord's fine if he kicks you out or stuff like that. Or
where will they go? Who cares?
Yeah, but Austrian economics, says, or you don't deserve a living wage. Well, I get what they're saying. They're saying, well, the Federal Reserve jacked up the wage, so you can't live, so it's the Fed's fault. That's partially true. It's also true if you tell someone who doesn't have the ability to make ends meet, you don't deserve a living wage, they're not going to get mad at the government. They're going to get mad at you and your theory. So, yeah, there's a whole lot of holes in Austrian economics that are filled by, direct action and mutual aid from left libertarians. That's why I said I would rather take time, even though I'm still part of the Mises Caucus, to learn more about syndicalism, to listen to Noam Chomsky before he, got to the position where he's at, and to also support Zachary Marlowe and what he's doing, because moneyless society is really pushing the needle. Now, am I completely against all market societies? No. Am I completely against people going to a flea market and trading with gold or Bitcoin or anything? No, I'm not, because I think that should be fine. I just think we should have mutual aid and a market thing next to that. Anyway, I went on a rant, so you can find me at Cream6633 on Twitter, Anarch Unity. I will put more articles up. Check out Keith Preston. He's always working on Facebook, probably one of the best thinkers I've run around, and his website, attackthesystem.com. Also, one last shout out and mutual aid request. Go check out Moneyless Society. Go take a look at what Zachary Marlowe's doing, as well as Cooperation Denton and Cooperation Tulsa, which are two co-ops in the United States working on. And if you can, definitely build your awareness up about the Appalachian mutual aid community, because it is there. A lot of people say without welfare, including my dad is a former Democrat. I talked to him, and his contention was never, let's build up my military, because I'm like, hey, Dad, look what they do in Iraq. He's like, yep. But he was like, Kareem, well, I agree with all of your anarchist statements, but if you get rid of government, people just wouldn't get the assistance they need. And I'm like, Dad, but okay, mutual aid could work. But mutual aid, to a lot of people, was a theoretical concept written about by Proudhon and Kropotkin. And I'm like, no. Forget Proudhon and Kropotkin. Check out the Appalachian community, because they're doing it, and we can do it too. And it started with one lady trying to feed people, and now they're doing it. And Joe knows more about that than me, but I don't know if he's in Appalachia, Ohio. So, all right, that's my thing. I'll stop.
He's not in Ohio. But
these things used to be commonplace, but yeah, we've been so conditioned to be dependent on the state that most people don't understand, or they don't trust that other people will help them out when given the opportunity.
Thing is we go back to, who was the Vietnam guy, the old guy who still won't die and go to hell like he's supposed to. Kissinger.
I think he did die.
Oh, about time.
He's in hell.
But, Kissinger, control the oil, control the nation, control the food, control the people. And that was one of those things he kept going back on about. And what we've watched recently is now the corporations control the food. You watch Monsanto, 90% of the farm industries around the world are owned and managed by Monsanto subsidiaries. Here in Idaho, you can't learn how to do regenerative ag. You got to go to Oregon to a university to learn how to do it. Here you learn how to do Monsanto farming. But you go back to control the food, control the people. We lost that ability back in the 70s. We went into the 80s. You started seeing the federal government and state governments go in and take over, community aid programs. Black Panthers, school breakfast. Appalachian had the school breakfast. All of the young lords, young patriots, that came back from Vietnam, from Appalachian, went into the Chicago factories, right alongside the Black Panthers. You saw all of that happen. And a lot of that was about the praxis of the time, or the philosophy getting transferred into praxis, and then watching the knee-jerk reaction of the federal government, the mob state, saying, no, we can't let you take back control of your own lives. You go on and on. But, I'm working on things here in Idaho right now. We got Kind Idaho. We're about 3 weeks away from starting to collect signatures on an initiative to decriminalize personal use and home cultivation of cannabis here in the state. That way you can drive across the border to a border dispensary where we're already spending $3 million a week. Or you can, set up your own little grow room in your basement and, just generate your own edibles from your own grow in your own garden and, have little parties with your friends. In addition to that, I'm going full commie here because I got with the DSA. Our Democratic Socialists of America right now are getting ready to take on a grocery sales tax repeal initiative. So Idaho stops getting 6% of the grocery sales to cushion their public funds, which go to, various corporations and so forth and so on. In addition to that, they're also working on a tenants union organization, so that tenants can take over ownership of the apartment complexes they own, run owner-occupied apartment complexes or condos, or however it is you want to phrase it. So we're seeing more and more of the mutual aid step up as people realize that the way we're allowing the corporations to run us over, the way we're allowing the government in cooperation with the corporations to run us over, continues to be a significant problem. But one of the things I want to say is anarchy. It's not about the journey. It's about the enemies we make along the way and the friends who betray us.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, literally, one thing I'm trying to tell the Austrians, and now they're betraying me, I'm like, hey, all your theoretical knowledge is great, but look into social ecology. Bookchin talked about it. You can quote Rothbard, and you can quote Hayek, and you can quote Hoppe, and you can quote Mises all you want. But if the bees die out, you're going to die. And that's one
Austrian economics is entirely compatible with anti-capitalism, which a lot of people don't seem to realize. You can create a perfectly viable exploitation theory off of time preference theory.
Correct. But to me, without social
we'll go into that later because that's kind of a topic for a whole different stream. But yeah.
That's one thing I looked into, actually.
Don't be an apologist for giant corporations if you're an Austrian economist. In fact, you should not be. If you understand your own economic theory, you won't be. So
100%. But yeah, that's all I was going to say.
I've told people this before. If you want to be able to do outreach with the left, explain to them how central banks are the ultimate instrument of class warfare, because they are. All these problems that you see with the working class being exploited, they all can be traced back to the monetary system. They can be traced back to central banking and inflationary fiat currency.
And one thing too, I was going to shout out, if you have a lawn like I do, I have a lawn, start growing vegetables, put an extra plant each year, or the extra 2 or 3. We don't need lawns. They are actually status things, not because they violate the NAP, but like they're useless land that you just cut, spend gas on. Why not turn it into food? Then we can all eat for free. That's social ecology. Regenerate the land, regenerate the farm. I don't agree with everything Bookchin said either, but he's right in the fact that if the bees are gone, we're gone. If we try to dominate nature and destroy it, we don't have a future. We don't. That's actual real sustainability, not, riding around in a jet and going to a conference. So we'll get a Bookchin as well. Get rid of your lawn and learn what social ecology is.
And what I'll say is my closing statement before we book, because like I got a family call that I'm gonna get on immediately after I hang up. And we can, I hope to see you again tomorrow, Joe, and I like Kareem and Rose as well. We'll do this at 8 p.m.
Tomorrow
Eastern.
might be a little rough because, family dinner, but I'll see what I can do.
Gotcha. Well, just
I'll do Sunday at the very least.
Let me know when that is, and maybe we'll bump this call to a little bit later. Might work. But anyway, the point is that the general thing is that I'll say is, we need to understand that a libertarian party that does not serve the long-term health of the world, a libertarian party that does not serve the short-term libertarian interests of minorities, a libertarian party that does not seem to care about anything other than short-term gains in various authoritarian political circles is not a libertarian party at all. And let me just say it, the idea that feeling good in the moment and selling out to Republicans is the way to solve this is anti-Austrian. And the reason it's anti-Austrian is because this is sacrificing the entire point of the party, the entire point of any movement, the entire point of anything, for petty beefs with the left. And that is unsustainable as fuck. And because of that, because it's unsustainable as fuck, it means that you're being unsustainable for the purpose of getting your own personal advancement. And if that's all you plan to do, that is high time preference behavior. It is high time preference, low trust behavior for the purposes of isolating cultural homogeneity. And if you have any sort of actual knowledge of Austrian principles, you'll understand that that's not the way to go. If you're not an Austrian, but you are a different type of libertarian, then you are already pretty much on board with this, and I don't need to use all this bullshit language to explain it to you. But the general vibe is that a lot of these people claim to be Misesian while not being Misesian, while not following Mises, while bastardizing his actual beliefs and trying to only cherry pick certain quotes and certain mentalities and generalities that they can use in order to ignore the actual skeleton of his positions. The idea that you can be a Misesian who hates liberals is fucking stupid. And the idea that you can be a Misesian who wants to, abolish, proper relations with minority communities is also fucking stupid, because he said that is one of the reasons that previous countries failed. The idea that you can be a Misesian and behave in the way that a significant amount of the alleged Mises caucus behaves belies their interest in a broader, more paleo angle than a Mises Institute angle. And anybody who's read a significant amount of the stuff that came out of the Mises Institute, or the man himself, can tell you that this is not the way forward if you mean to have a Misesian or Austrian future. And if you don't, shut the fuck up about it. The general gist that I have is this is corruption based on a bunch of people grifting on ideas they don't actually hold, and instead trying to push it in a direction with which they would be more comfortable, that being the right. and this is going to be a disastrous rot for the party until everything is basically sold out to the authoritarians. It's the same kinds of things that Tulsi was saying about Hillary, only now Angela McArdle is our queen of rot. That is it. That is it. So we need to get rid of the rot. We need to allow people like Caryn to make this party ethical again, and we need to allow things like that to happen, or cut and run and join me in cynical asshole town while we smash the fucking state.